Who do you want to see run?
Look, we'll have 30 or 40 probably great candidates running for president.
That's a lot.
I think
40, really? 40 candidates?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of U.S. senators who are talking about, a lot of governors, a lot of people outside of politics. I think we're going to have a big field.
And you thought the GOP field was big in 2016, 30 or 40 people. Wow. Well, just look at these recent developments. As Democrats continue to embrace Beto-mania, it goes unabated, old Joe Biden is reemerging to say that, hey, wait a minute, Amtrak minute here, okay? I think I'm the most qualified person in the country to be president, he said. Well, there's a new twist to all of this tonight. Just hours ago, it was reported that Beto O'Rourke secretly met with President Obama, who is said to be very excited about his potential candidacy. So how bruising will a Biden-Beto Democrat primary be? Throw in another 28 people or so. Here to debate, Corey Lewandowski, former Trump 2016 campaign manager, and Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst, co-host of The Five. Juan, Obama's old staff seems to be, you know, prepping an instant kind of plug and play for the Beto presidential campaign. Your thoughts?
Well, not quite. I mean, Rahm Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago, has said, you know, you got to win something, and he thinks the idea that Beto O'Rourke did not win versus Ted Cruz in Texas means that he shouldn't be a contender here. He's got to prove that he can be a winner. But I see lots of Obama people, to your point, Laura, saying, and Obama people saying, hey, you know what, we haven't seen excitement, this kind of charisma, this kind of young people attracted to a candidate since 2008, and that's Barack Obama. And by the way, in Iowa, they've just done a survey, and it came back that most of Iowa Democrats say they'd like to see a young, energetic, new face on the scene. And I don't think there's anyone who fits that bill better than O'Rourke.
Yeah, but of course, his old vice president, Corey, Joe Biden, clearly isn't feeling the love here. I mean, he is pretty experienced. Okay, he was vice president for 8 years. Yeah. And Robert Francis, you know, does the shirt sleeve thing, kind of like Obama used to do. He used to jump on stage with shirt sleeves. He's young and energetic and loved by a lot of Democrats. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Someone who's never won, big position, looks like the mojo and the energy is moving to him. Never seen anything like it.
Well, this reminds me of Robert De Niro in Raging Bull when he says, I could have been a contender, I could have been somebody. But you got to win first is what it comes down to. Next thing you know, you're going to tell me the ticket's going to be two failed candidates. Beto O'Rourke and Andrew Gillum from Florida are going to combine to be two losers who are going to run when we've got a, quote, experienced candidate like Joe Biden. That means old to the average person. Experience means old. The front runners for the Democratic nomination are both in their mid-70s. And then we've got Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris and all these others who can't get out of their own way, who want to run to the far left. And the Democrats are going to nominate a very liberal progressive who Donald Trump is going to walk all over.
Well, Juan, you know, there was another guy who ran and won and hadn't run and won anything, Donald Trump.
I was thinking, when Corey was talking,
he never won a political office, and he won the presidency.
Yeah, and also, hey, Corey, but I mean, Donald Trump's up in his 70s, so Joe Biden's highly experienced. I think when Joe Biden says he's the most qualified, it reminds me, you know, George H.W. Bush, very qualified, lots of experience. You can't argue with Joe Biden's many years in the Senate and also as the head of the Judiciary Committee.
They don't want Biden. They don't want Biden. They want Beto.
In the polls, he's the #1 candidate.
I know. Well, we have it. Biden's on the Harvard-Harris poll.
Yeah.
Put it up. It's Biden 25, Bernie Sanders 15, Hillary Clinton 13, Beto O'Rourke 9%.
Right.
I don't think that any of that means anything right now, because I'm telling you, although Obama is meeting with, he's met with Bernie Sanders, he's met with Elizabeth Warren, and Mitch Landrieu, speaking of people who like to pull down statues in the middle of the night, or at least countenance that, Mitch Landrieu. So the Obama folks and the former president himself, they're kind of running out of patience with Trump, Corey. Come on. Obama's like, all right, guys, let me see how it's done. Let me see it. Let me show you how it's done. And Beto is kind of the, as he's described by, was it the New York Times or Washington Post, as the white Obama. Like, they're describing him as that way.
Look, Obama has seen all of his signature policies reversed under this president. He's seen the economy explode. He's seen the magician that he claimed didn't exist, which was Donald Trump, bring jobs back to our country. He's seen this president renegotiate bad trade deals, and he wants anybody who can challenge him. The problem is, look, in the 2016 election, we had the adult debates and we had the children's debate, which was two separate stages. Now with 30 candidates, we're going to have the geriatrics debate, the losers debate, and everybody else on the stage. I mean, it's amazing. We're going to have 30 people. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, all right, guys. I want to get your thoughts on something else, though, because tonight we're mourning the passing of a presidential campaign that never got off the ground. Michael Avenatti announcing on Twitter that he will not run in 2020. Could we possibly get the porn star attorney to change his mind and give Joe and Beto and Kamala a run for their money? Juan.
I think only if we want to tickle you and Corey, because you guys would have a field day talking about him and Stormy Daniels and all that. I think Stormy remains on the scene as kryptonite to Trump, but I think you guys as political people would think, how ridiculous. Now, I must say, he does reveal an instinct on the Democratic part, which is they want someone who would go toe-to-toe, slugging it out with the heavyweight champ Trump, right? And so Avenatti says that's what he'll do. These other people, he says, you know, they're wimps. They're going to get run over by the big heavyweight Donald Trump. But I think you're going to find it that the Democrats have a big appetite for someone who's a fighter. But you know, to me, Avenatti has just too many deficits, too many flaws going in. He's too much of a target for you guys.
Yeah, well, he talked about you need a fighter in 2020, and
right.
Yeah, we get that. But you also need someone who comes with some level, I think, of gravitas and experience. I mean, who knows where we'll be in 2 years in the economy? Certainly hope the economy's doing well in 2 years. But you're going to go up against someone who's been through, you know, the meat grinder of politics for the last, you know, previous 6 years. And that's not easy. Well, I don't care if you're young and energetic and good-looking, you're from Texas, and you have a cool name. That doesn't mean you have the political talent of Barack Obama. He had an enormous, raw political talent, Obama did. And we'll see about whether Beto does. Corey, real quick, close it out.
Well, I agree with Juan. I don't think anybody whose nickname is Creepy Porn Lawyer had a real chance of being the Democratic nominee. I could be wrong, but I don't think it's a great nickname to get into politics with, especially a guy who's been thrown out for not paying his bills. He has all these liens against him. I think Creepy Porn Lawyer had no real chance anyways.
All right, guys, thanks so much.